good morning, good afternoon and good day, and welcome back to the Parc'd podcast by Parc'd. Today we're on episode 7, which is ironic. I believe it's ironic. Is it ironic? Hang on. Have I got the right car in my head? It is ironic! Episode number 7. And car number 7 actually won this weekend, just gone. That's why it's ironic.
It's true.
It is true. I can't remember if it was number 7 or the number 8 that won, which is why I just had to scroll up to double check. But I feel like we should step away from WEC and start with Formula E, as Formula E was like a weekend away, and obviously F1 and WEC were on this weekend and not the previous weekend before that we're filming this. We're filming this on a Tuesday, by the way. WEC and Formula E, not WEC and Formula E, WEC and Formula 1 were last weekend, as in like Sunday, and Formula E was Saturday, Sunday, the week before. So I feel like we should start with WEC, not WEC, Formula E. Oh my god! Not that I
What do you want to start with again?
Formula E, but I don't want to, okay? Although MISANO was fantastic, race number 1, so good, one of my favourite races to ever watch up until 3 hours after the race. Fantastic until then.
No, true.
How's everyone feeling about MISANO? Because obviously Formula E, if you're not aware, if you're listening to this and you're not aware, Formula E is a street circuit championship for the most part. It has changed a little bit over the years, dependent. And obviously MISANO is a circuit and not a street circuit. So, how are we feeling about MISANO?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was chaos, but it was good chaos. But I feel like if I could change one thing, I wouldn't change it. But I agree with I think it was Pascal when you interviewed him. He said that tracks need to be enforced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it was, but they might as well have just gone, do you know what, guys, off-road it.
Yeah, there were not a lot of agreeing to track limits there.
No.
I think that's the thing, is with Formula E, I just wait for it on street circuits. It's not like it's not made for racetracks, but the whole point is that it's meant to be on street circuits.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I always prefer the racing on street circuits. I prefer street circuits to normal tracks half the time anyway. But it just doesn't feel quite right on an actual racetrack.
From a in-person perspective, because obviously Celeste and I attended the MISANO E-Prix. We both also attended the London E-Prix, which is a street circuit. And is Berlin a street circuit?
Yes, although it's not it's not on the street. So it has the feel of a street circuit, being with the walls being so close and you don't have any runoffs, but it's not actually on the street because it's in a big airport space. So yeah, I think it classifies as a street circuit.
So obviously,
hybrid.
Yeah. So since obviously now being at the MISANO E-Prix, which was held at the MISANO circuit, and also being to London for the London E-Prix, the differences in atmosphere were very, very different between the two. Even with team personnel, most people that we spoke to while we were there were not vibing with having a circuit race, because they all set up their garages and everything and all of that the same, because they're always at street circuits, so they're built for them. So when they go to an actual circuit where the garages are built already for them and they don't really have a say in space, it's an issue. So they were going into the weekend all up in the air. It felt very, very weird that there was no definitive paddock either. Before we went, when we were looking at the map, we were like, oh, that's weird. They're calling it the fan paddock and not the fan village. And we were like, huh? And that's because the fan village was in the paddock.
The paddock.
So, yeah. So you had the entrance where you walked in, and then There was all of kind of your fan village stuff that you would normally have. There was the podium area. There was a bunch of different like games and things that you could do with like the electric race cars. There was a little beach where you could watch, you know, like when you buy your village passes for like 20 odd euros for a weekend. The place you could watch that was in a little beach, which was quite cool. But then if you kept walking, there was the stairs upstairs to the media centre, and next to those stairs to your right was the media pen, so anybody could see into the media pen during that time, which was fine, just obviously couldn't get let in. And then to the left was the back of all of the garages, so they were kind of like metal fenced off. They had the flags with each of the drivers' faces on them, and there was they each had like a little metalled off area which had like 2 picnic benches in, and then a tiny little hut basically, and the drivers would go in and out of that hut, and I'm assuming that's just where they changed, because you could see the hut doors were open and obviously their race suits and stuff were hanging up in there, so they'd go in there to get changed and then have to go into the garage. And we got the pleasure of walking through one of those garages, and it was tiny. Like,
Really?
no wonder every time you walk past there was always team personnel sat at those picnic benches working from their laptops, and I don't think that's something you would normally see anyway. Like, obviously you don't see anything like that in like at London. I don't know if it's like that anywhere else. And when we walked through, we literally had to single file it and almost suck in to go down these 2 little corridors and then squeeze past the car to get out into the front area. It was ridiculously tight in there. No wonder half the people had to work out the back. But it was even weirder that, like, because there was a lot of fans there, and they would go and stand by the metal gates to obviously try and meet the drivers when they were like loitering around. So like Paul Aaron, bless his soul, was always by that metal gate. Every time you walked past, he was stood by it, talking to people, having conversations, chilling. He was a ball of energy, by the way. If you ever get the opportunity to meet Paul Aaron, absolute ball of energy. But I do feel bad for the team personnel that weekend, because they'd be trying to work and there's people stood staring at them working, because the paddock and the E-Village were the same thing. So it was a very weird, obviously you had all your pit walk and everything was the same, go around and everything like that, but they didn't have any personal space practically the whole weekend.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, especially in racing like circumstances, I feel like there are times where, like, obviously you say it was like the fan paddock. I feel like also there needs to be kind of like a place where, other than just the garage, that the teams can just kind of
you kind of miss the entire hospitality places, because normally the teams always have their garage, but then if they walk outside and cross sort of the street they normally make, they have the hospitality where team personnel can eat their lunch and drivers can have the driver rooms and stuff like that. But they didn't have hospitalities at all. They were nowhere.
Really?
No, because
I think that's the thing. In paddocks, you're used to like that kind of thing. It's got to be like VIP, so to see it not is interesting.
Yeah, and I don't really get why, because I feel like there was more than enough space to make like a little paddock so that the teams would have some hospitality.
Yeah, because it was there was a lot of
MotoGP would usually
empty
have
space.
that. MotoGP is used to going to MISANO and having their full F1 size hospitalities.
That's what I was thinking when you were saying about garage so small with like the cars. The garages are designed to have 2 bikes, not to have.
But even
really, not to have 2 cars.
Yeah, but even then, like, you go to Barcelona, you go to other tracks where it's all the same. Like, the bikes are the ones that cars would be at anyway.
Yeah, but has like MISANO really had car race at it before, or has it just mainly been bike?
But Junior Series race there. Junior Series. I mean, it is mostly bikes, but
yeah,
it's interesting that's
the only thing. I'm a devil's advocate for Formula E in the track.
Well, I think it's also one of these things where, like, the difference is that as well in things like Formula 1, their pit wall is outside of their garages, Whereas in Formula E, their pit walls are inside of the garage. So when you've got a pit wall, the crew working on 2 cars, 2 lots of crews, and then an area for
in
like
London,
other
like...
people do. Yeah, and the fact that we've seen into the garages in London, they were half the size of them. Like, you physically couldn't breathe, and I do feel so bad for the team personnel all weekend.
And they were literally even small in London. Like, you're just squeezing past stuff there.
Yeah, and yeah, there was not a lot of space. No one really seemed all that excited from the atmosphere we're getting. Obviously, we spoke to a couple of drivers and stuff. They didn't really seem that excited to be racing in like a circuit as opposed to like a street circuit. I think the vibe of everything was very off. The atmosphere of the weekend, fantastic. Everyone was so lovely. Fans, team personnel, everyone that we encountered, so lovely. And the atmosphere was really, really good. People were like bouncing off the walls. Everyone was having a great time. But whether they'll bring back MISANO for another year, I don't know. Racing, fantastic. If you don't have a long spring, but racing,
I think fantastic. The thing is, like, Rome is so iconic and it's so loved throughout the paddock. So many people love Rome. I love Rome. That for it, like, not to be there is kind of just a bit strange. Like, it's no one's like fault, but
it also really weirded me out, like, mentally, that the Formula E race in Italy was so early in the year, because obviously last year me and Alice, we were out in like Lake Como, Kelsey, and then Kelsey's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go today. And we were like, and that was obviously start of July, because I think it was the race weekend before London.
Yeah.
Italy is like it's a June, July sort of race. So having
weather-wise,
it just baffled me.
Yeah, I'm assuming they've got other things booked out for the rest of the year in MISANO for it to then be that weekend. I understand why they aren't racing in Rome again, because of the incident from last year. But it is sad to not see Rome there, and I am intrigued to see what they'll do for the Italian E-Prix next year. Like, are we going to return to MISANO? Are we gonna?
But there's so many good tracks. There's so many good tracks in Italy. Like, obviously you got Mugello. You've got. I mean, I doubt they would do Imola, but you know that's obviously another
Imola
option.
Is
Monza,
notorious for not being great for overtaking, which Formula E is always really good for overtaking. But just something about Imola and its notoriousness for not being able to overtake very well, mixed with Formula E, who will just take each other out, just doesn't feel like the correct answer.
I have a proposition.
Oh no.
For 25 Italian Formula E race. So it's a 1-lap race. It's all or nothing.
Oh no.
They start in Como, and they go all around the lake. Because if they have track limits, there are no track limits because they go off the side of the cliff.
Because it's the lake.
Wow.
1 lap, and it takes all.
Interesting.
That's something for sure.
I'm going to propose it to Formula E.
Yeah, I
call up Jeff Dodds right now.
Well, to be fair, I could probably like put it out there, and they'd be like, actually, that's a sound idea.
Not a bad idea.
Formula E drive backwards challenge. Why is someone? Hang on.
Oh my.
Hang on.
What?
There's it's rumoured that one of the Formula E Berlin rookies for the rookie test is a girl, a female driver.
Hello.
And Oriela Nobles has posted that she's got an exciting announcement coming tomorrow.
Ooh.
Could be that. Ooh. Anyway, yeah. Do we want to discuss the racing, the chaos? Anyone can tell me every single driver that led the MISANO E-Prix?
There's
Anyone
too many.
make a
Good
note
quiz,
of
good
that?
quiz question that is.
All I
Which
know
drivers
is
led
that
the Misano E-Pre?
I could
Go.
have
All of them.
done on the sweepstake and gone miles ahead. If
Don't
that first
talk about the stupid sweepstake.
No, I will. Because my drivers that I had for both races won the race. I could have gone flying. Just because there was an old spring that hadn't taken out.
No, that was my driver. I had Antonio Felix da Costa round 6. Yeah. I had Antonio Felix da Costa and Sergio Sette Camera for round 6.
Oh.
Yes, because I was like, finally, I won! And then I was like, oh my god, Sergio in the points for once as well, hell yeah! And then Sergio got hit, 50-second time penalty, and I was like, brilliant, lost some points, and then disqualification for a stupid little spring. Oh, look at that, Alice's win, gone. All of Alice's points, gone. So I had to heckle Jake Dennis on Sunday. I said, Jake, babes, we've got an issue. I've got you in the Formula E sweepstake, and
At least you're not lost, though, in the sweepstake.
that's Alex, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but not the same point, I think.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be almost last if, you know, shit didn't hit the fan.
You're also not almost lost.
And I was also meant
There's
to...
4 people below you.
Yeah, look, okay.
You're fine.
Jake Dennis listened to me when I said, babes, I need you to, like, win if possible Sunday because I need the points for my sweepstake. And he went, I'll get you as many points as, you know, I can. I was like, I'll get you lots of points. And I was like, fantastic. And he finished P2. Thank you, Jake Dennis, for getting me points. Can anyone guess, to make sure we actually stay on track of racing here, how many retirements, not including disqualifications, we had at the Misano E-Pre across round 6 and round 7?
8 or 7. Yeah.
So 6 to 7, 8. What are you saying, Katie?
Episode 7, so 7.
One of you actually got it right.
6.
It was Naomi.
Me.
It was 8 retirements.
Sly Queen.
Oliver Rowland in race 2. Nick Cassidy in race 1, Sam Bird in race 1, Johan Derulo in race 1, Edo Mortara in race 1, and then Stoff, Robin and Sebastian Buemi in race 2 as well.
Was it 5 in one? 5 in one of them? Or was it 4 each?
4 each.
Yeah.
So I said Oliver Rowland in race 2 first instead of waiting to say him with the other race 2 people because I'm stupid. Yeah,
that confused me.
Oliver Rowland's retirement in race 2 was actually the end of his podium streak.
So sad.
He obviously had a P3 in Dirio round 2, a P3 in Sao Paulo, and a P2 in Tokyo. And I did say on the podcast when it was me and Katie that I was like, oh, I'd really like to see Oliver Rowland get his win at Misano, equal out that podium thing. And he got his win in round 1 of Misano after Antonio Felix da Costa got disqualified for a spring.
But at least then, say if he gets a podium in the next race, you can say, well, now he has a podium in all the races that he's finished.
No, because P11 and P13 in Mexico and Diria round 1.
Well, the streak can go on with races that he's finished.
Okay.
I watched it.
Mhm.
I watched it with, like, I turned it on, and my dad watched like the last 10 laps with me, and I was like, oh, as much as I want Pascal to win for my sweepstake, I was like, I really, really want Oliver to win. Purely so that he can have that actual race and go, yeah, I won that. It wasn't due to a technicality. And I went to Dad, I was like, oh, like I said it out loud. I was like, oh God, probably jinxed it now. And then it was like 10 or so laps after, and I'm like, no, it's fine, it's the final lap, I'm safe. And then Dad went, is that's the one you said wanted to...
Not Roland.
Yeah, and I was like, oh.
We were literally sat there like, what the hell has just happened?
I thought his car broke. I didn't think he'd run out of energy.
No, he ran out of energy. They put it out that he had one less lap than he actually had to do. So he overused and then stopped on track.
Silly boy.
Yeah. I actually can't remember the retirements in race 1. I think there was so much going on that I physically just can't remember.
Brain didn't work.
Yeah, my brain stopped functioning during race 1, I think. Obviously Oliver Rowland ended up winning following the DSQ. Jake Dennis finished P2 in the end, and then Maxi Gunther took the last podium spot. P4 was taken by, anyone know? Who took P4 in round 6 of the Misano E-Prix?
Dan Ticktum.
Dan Ticktum!
I was gonna say, was it Daniel?
Go on,
Danny
Tickers!
Danny boy.
This is the trick question. Wait.
No, it wasn't a trick question. Daniel Ticktum took his first and only points finish of season 10, because he did finish P14 in round 7 of Misano. With a P4 finish, that's the best result. Is it yeah, it's the best result that ERT have had all season so far. With Sergio City Camera finished then P6 in Misano for round 2.
When I was doing the transcripts of the interviews, I think Antonio's and Dan's were my favourite ones to like listen to and type up.
Why?
Like Dan's really excited about the fact that he did well. It was like I felt like I was in a Porsche or a Jag for a couple of laps.
Because
When I heard that made me laugh.
honestly, this is the biggest and utmost, like, greatest thank you to Yuchi, who is the communications manager for ERT, and Dan Ticktum, because by the time we'd gotten round to Dan, pretty much most of the other drivers had gone off and were fine, and Yuchi was going to let Dan go, obviously, to, you know, they've had like a busy day. And Yuchi was like, don't worry girls, we'll do you one and whatnot. Even tried to tell people that, like, nope, these 2 are the last ones, not taking any more. And Dan could have easily, like, everyone else practically had gone at this point. She'd said to Sergio he's more than welcome to go back and get ready. It was basically just Dan left, and he could have very easily just been like, nope, bye guys, I'm going, I'm not doing this now, adios, and, you know, ran off. But he didn't, and he stayed and he had a conversation. He was just like, I remember when we went up to him, he looked at us and just smiled and went, hello. And we're like, hi. He was like, how are you guys? Like, nope, we're the ones interviewing you, Dan. Stop asking us questions back. It's the same with Antonio. Every time Celeste asked Antonio a question, he'd ask her one back, and she was like,
Literally,
God,
we walked up to him, and I was like, hi, because obviously you say hi, because that's just polite. And I was starting my question, and you just interrupted me. He was like, what do you think of the race? I was like, it was great, Antonio. So, yeah, did you like it? I was like, Antonio, please, we don't have much time. I mean, there's more people waiting for you to talk.
I typed up word for word. Whatever I was hearing, I was typing up. And then I'm going through, rereading it, going, I had a fucking chit chat at the start of this. I was like, okay, so I was like, Chelly asked this question. And I'm like, no, that's Chelly answering. Why is it Chelly asking the questions? I was like, please, for the love of God, my brain's not working.
The thing is, it's good to kind of have a chat, like, when you are interviewing. Like, the best interviews are, like, casual chats. But not when the actual driver is asking you questions. I'd just be like, no.
well, like, Antonio, babes, I don't think people want to hear our opinions. I think they're looking for your opinions. Antonio, how was the race? Oh, it was good, thank you. How was the race watching it? Yeah, it was fantastic, thank you, Antonio. So what do you think of Misano? Oh, I think this is... What do you think of it? Yeah, thank you, Antonio. I don't think people care about my opinion.
They won't listen to our opinions in this podcast, but right now, they want to hear you.
Do you want to hear a really, really fun statistic?
Go for it.
Yes.
Following on from the Misano E-Prix, so as we go into what, the halfway point now, I believe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it was 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost the halfway point. After Monaco, it will have hit the halfway point. There is only one team who have 0 points.
Is it McLaren?
No! Sam Bird won!
Warren.
Sam Bird is a race winner!
Isn't that wait?
Is it?
Yes,
Mahindra.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Has to
Mahindra.
be.
Yep. It is
Neither
about
Nick
Mahindra.
or-
Sorry, I'm getting
Justice for Jim.
from different race series and not having points.
Sorry, Lucas de Grassi took 1 point as he finished P10 in Misano race 1, and Jehan Daruvula took 2 points when he finished P9 in Misano round 2. So that now officially just leaves Edo and Neek without points. Neek's highest position finished so far is 14th, and Edo's is 11th. So hopefully, in the upcoming races, Mahindra can claim some
I still-
points.
Like, mentally, I don't believe that Edo races for Mahindra.
It feels weird.
Like, he just doesn't. Like, he races for Maserati or
Yeah, literally.
Venturi in my brain. Like, no.
You might want to get the brain checked. Round 2, Pascal Wehrlein won again. He won the first race of the season. This makes him the only driver in season 10 to have won more than one race. Jake Dennis took P2 again, and then Nick Cassidy took P3 after a retirement in race 1. Who finished P4? Nico Müller. Sasha Fenestras finished P5, best finish of the season. Sergio Sete Cameras, we said earlier, finished P6. That's his best finish of the season. I think that's all the best finishes of the season. No, Nico Müller's P4 finish was the best of the season as well. Wowee. And then obviously Jehan's first point, so top tier. Top tier. Do you want to stay in Italy, or would you like to travel to China?
Italy.
You'd like to stay in Italy.
Might as well.
Perfect. I love talking about WEC. Yippee! So, once again, Celeste and I stayed in Italy. Well, I stayed in Italy, Celeste came back to Italy. Either way, we went to the World Endurance Championship this past weekend in IMOLA. Couldn't think what it was called then for a second.
Enzo Edino.
IMOLA.
Ferrari.
Don't say the F word, okay? You'll set her off. So, actually talking about the F word, they were actually on pole position on Saturday. They had a 1-2-3 in qualifying, which is phenomenal, great at the home race. Celeste was very, very happy. She was bouncing off the vacuum walls of that 1-2-3. I was like, see, it feels good to get a 1-2-3, doesn't it? Because obviously we had a 1-2-3 finish in Qatar. Would you like to tell us how that went, Celeste?
Well, they made a bad strategy in the wet weather. That's it. That's all it is.
It was a pretty... I remember we were sat in the stands discussing this because Toyota were coming in to put the wets on. And we were like, why are Ferrari not pitting? If you've got... Well, they've obviously got the 50 and the 51. But they also had the Ferrari customer car there as well, which they could have at least pitted one of the three and tested the alternate strategy with that. And if it didn't work out, then that's one car down. But if it did work out, then at least they've got a good chance at getting a podium or even winning the race, because they could have easily won that race. If they'd have pitted when Toyota did, they probably would have won.
Easy. They had the faster pace all weekend, so they would have won. But they, like you said, they somehow bunched up all the strategies into one, which it's just weird, because I've always said, like, WEC is my fave because Ferrari has good strategies, which for the last 5 seasons Ferrari has done. We've won championship on having good strategies. So I don't know why, I don't know what was happening. It was very on and off with rain, so I get that you want to have a gamble and hoping it stays dry enough to stay out on slicks. But like you said, you would have, like, you would think they would split up the strategy over their 3 cars. And then the way they kept going, like, it wasn't just 1 round that they stayed out. It wasn't 2 rounds they stayed out. It wasn't 3. No, it was 4 laps where they stayed out. They were getting overtaken by the fucking GT cars, by the LMP GT3 cars. Which At that point, you should see you're being overtaken by the slowest car on the grid. You should think, maybe it is too wet to stay on these tires. And I honestly don't know why they didn't, because like I said, normally our strategy is on point, so I don't know what happened. Maybe he was asleep.
Thing is,
I don't know.
one thing I know about Italy is that when it rains, it pours. There is no in between. They don't just have like a little shower. When it rains, it pours. And after Saturday, right? We were literally stranded in the paddock, by the way. Fun fact. We were like waiting around. We were talking to some friends that we had. We were talking and whatnot. And then the wind starts picking up and it gets really, really windy. Trees are going around, things are moving, and we're like, oh. It's a 30-minute walk from the track to the train station, by the way. And we're like, what do we do? And then Callum came out. So I went over and was speaking to Callum for a bit, and that was fine. And the wind started really picking up, and I was like, it's going to storm. And he was like, yep, I'm going to go drink coffee now. I ran off to his little hospitality suite to drink his coffee, and left us in the storm. And we looked up and we went, it's going to rain. We took 3 steps, and it starts to fucking rain, okay? The wind started picking up, it was thundering, it was lightning, and it starts chucking it down rain. We sprinted to the restaurant, as did loads of other people, and everyone hibernated in here and waited till the rain died down a little bit so that we could walk to the train station without getting like utterly soaked. So you'd think after watching that happen on Saturday, that when it started to happen on Sunday, you'd go, it's gonna rain, and it's gonna rain for a while, because it didn't just rain for 30 minutes, it rained for a solid like 2 hours. It only started drying up in like the last hour. So I don't know what went on. And although Celeste was very, very sad, as was every other person in our fucking grandstand, every time the Ferrari came out of the pit, they'd all start clapping and cheering.
So Ferrari of them.
Every time the Porsche came by, I'd go, woo! So, the Porsches would feel included. Talking of Porsche though, guitar, we had a 1, 2, 3. In Imola, we had a 2, 3. Okay, we got bopped. It's fun, but we're still slaying because we followed in Toyota's footsteps. Basically, Toyota pitted for wets, so we pitted for wets. And I'm pretty sure we pitted one car first. I want to say we pitted the number 5 first. No, we pitted the number 6 first, let the number 5 continue on the slicks for a bit, realised the slicks weren't it, so then pitted them the next lap. So we tested the 2 strategies. The Hertz Jota had a miserable time. Both of them did. It was something. Don't really know what to call the Hertz Jota situation, but it was something.
It was Callum Island going into the gravel lips.
He wasn't the only Hertz Jota to go into the gravel. Both of my men in the Hertz Jota,
but he beached it.
Went into the gravel.
He needed to be pulled out by his tow truck.
He
38.
To be fair to him, he has never in his entire life driven an endurance car in the wet.
I mean, compared to the Porsche, he was an angel on that track, because the Porsche just lived in that gravel trap.
And they did. But to be fair, if you're driving an endurance car for your first time in the wet and you've still got slicks on, I'm assuming it would be an experience.
Yeah.
I just sit there and I think in my head now, whenever I see a car go off at like the corner or go off into the gravel trap, I just have Charles Leclerc in my ear going, oh, it's so nice. Turn, brake! I just like go through their head before they go into the gravel.
Did Naomi have a good weekend this weekend? She did! Alex Lynn took a point. Finished P10. However, this weekend was a fantastic week for Alice, because obviously Porsche 2-3, but also, I'm not a Toyota girl, okay? Don't Okay, don't come for me. I'm a Nick the Freeze girly. I love Nick the Freeze. Okay, me and Nick the Freeze besties now. Me and James Collado also besties now. Don't get Celeste set off.
I love James Collado.
Yeah, rude.
The James Collado situ here, right? Me and Cess were literally just walking through the paddock, minding our business, right? And this man in all Ferrari just starts walking past, and I kind of look away and look over and I go, oh, it's James Collado. So I just smile at him and go, and he goes, as he walks past me. And I turn to look at Celeste and she's staring at me like, I was like, what? She went, did he
I've been trying to get my fucking shit signed by him for like 2 years of going to WEC now. I've seen him once at the first race in Spa when no one on the Earth planet was watching WEC, so there was no one in the paddock. I was literally the only, well, not literally, but I was one of the only ones.
The Alice effect.
Since then, I've been trying to get James Collato's signature because I only got a photo last time. And then he just casually said hi to you while I was walking next to you, and I was wearing a Ferrari jumper. You were wearing a fucking Porsche jumper. I think it's the British
the Alice
connection
effect.
or something. I don't know.
No, it's the Alice effect. First, what's his name? Buemi. Now.
Well, to add to that story, to be fair, we walked in the paddock minding our business, and we saw this guy sprinting through the paddock. Said guy was Nick the Freeze, right? He was so focused on sprinting. I don't know where he had to be, but he must have been very, very late because he was running. But somehow he noticed Alice and he just went, "Oh hi," and just kept running. Like, I don't know how she does
when
it.
we were at London, he always notices us from that first time where he came out and like, yeah.
I was having a full-blown conversation with him in MISANO, right? And then so she goes, do you recognise her? And he was like, yeah, of course. And then stares at me and then realises I've forgotten the Frisian flag. And then I have to plead the fifth.
Because the thing is, if you watched our vlog or if you've ever been to the WEC paddock, you know that wherever you go, obviously in Italy it's bigger, but everywhere you go, there's this, like, group of people stalking that Ferrari hospitality. Like, they're, and when I say a group, it's like a massive group, and they're just waiting there all day. I don't think they even see the cars on track. Anyways, fair to him, do whatever you want. But James Collado just walked out of that group alone when we saw him, and then the second time again, he was alone when we saw him. He was not like stalked by the group, or I don't know how you do it.
Whenever that happens now. Whenever that happens, like, and you catch it on vlog, you just need to have a graphic of, yeah.
All the drivers were great vibes. Mick Schumacher was great vibes. He was lovely, bless him. He was so sweet. I think probably one of the loveliest people I've ever met. He was, just keeping to himself, minding his business, vibing.
I love Mick Schumacher.
I was very sad to see how his Imola went down. I don't know what was wrong with the Alpine this weekend. But
also,
it's in the genes.
It was French.
It's in everything.
Very French.
It was French.
And poor Ferdinand Habsburg, who's broken his back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to find a certain somebody who finished P6. So, Robin Rhines, who scared the living shit out of me and sent me into a mild panic attack, you did have pace this weekend, okay? Nick de Vries took his first ever World Endurance Championship podium. Win. This weekend.
Not podium.
Yeah,
not
win.
Podium. He's got podiums.
Don't
worry.
Yeah, that's why I corrected myself to win, Celeste, because I realised I can't speak. Took his first ever WEC win. Obviously with the Toyota number 7, with Mike Conway and Kamui Kobayashi. Are you impressed that I pronounced that correctly now? That was mainly directed at
Is that hard to pronounce?
Do you not remember how I pronounced it last time?
I actually can't.
It's
probably a good thing.
It's in the year thing, and it's you yelling at me. And also, hang on, I need to scroll down just to get this 100% correct.
Pronunciation. Never.
Never.
ever.
And something very exciting for the Italians in Imola, Valentino Rossi took his first WEC podium, where they finished P2 in the LMGT3 category this week.
So iconic! So iconic!
Manthe finished P3, which means they're top of the standings at the moment with 54 points for that series, and the Porsche Penske number 6 is obviously currently P1 in the championship with 56 points, obviously with a P1 and a P2. P2 currently is Toyota on 40 points, so 16 point margin, which is not a lot. Not a lot. That's just one pole position and one third place, and we're equal. And obviously we'd have to score nothing. Yeah, I think that covers everything with WEC. I think.
I'm going to say one thing before we move them.
Go for it.
To other series.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Alex Marquez.
Okay. Happy birthday, Alex Marquez.
Alright.
That is the most important info.
So, 20 years since the first Chinese Grand Prix was held in 2004. Guan Yu Zhou's first ever F1 race he went to was in 2005. F1 Grand Prix, I think.
That photo is so cute.
But the one thing we definitely have to cover
cute.
before covering the racing is how fucking disrespectful and racist some people can be.
Literally. Not even just racism, also ableism. Like,
But like
Twitter and everything has been horrid.
So if you didn't see, Zhou Guanyu got his own place on the grid when the race was finished to park his car on. It had a sign and everything with his face and his name on it, and he could park his car in front of this sign, right? And the amount of people that just came forward and was like, ha ha ha, why would they give someone that's finished P14 out of the points, you know, after getting destroyed by his teammate once again, why would they give him his own place to stand? Probably because he's, one, the first Chinese F1 driver ever.
Ever?
Second of all, it's been years since the Chinese Grand Prix was held. They didn't even know if it was going to be fully coming back. It was always on the fence about it. And three, there is not a lot of Chinese representation in sport in general. So for the fans to actually be able to attend an F1 race and have somebody represent them is firsthand incredible.
Big deal.
It's like, and it's a big, big deal for him. It's a big deal for the country. The population in China is wham. And for them to have never had an F1 driver is insane. So of course they want to enjoy their representation and show off their representation, and the way that they appreciated and loved Joe that weekend was phenomenal. I think his little space on the grid was just such a lovely, touching gesture.
Sweet.
People just do not understand. And this is just one of these things where don't talk about something that you do not understand. And when Chinese Formula One fans are telling you that this is why and what you're saying is whack, listen and apply the changes and apologise and be a better person. Don't argue back about it. Like, why are you arguing? Like,
one of my favourite things from the weekend was the fans and like their signs of like, this is how to do a pit stop stay. That was one of my favourite signs from the whole weekend.
I didn't really watch much of the F1 this weekend because Celeste and I walk at really different... this is one thing that I noticed. We were watching it on Celeste's phone, but we walk at very different patterns, if that makes sense. I walk quicker in general anyway.
Quicker? You run.
I do not run. I
Yeah, you
walk at a
run.
normal pace.
Me and Ian almost
Neither of you two walk at a decent pace.
Me and Ian almost lost a lung trying to keep up with you.
Oopsie. Either way, I bounce more when I walk. And I feel like Celeste doesn't bounce as much. I think that's because of her fucked up Achilles or whatever. So trying to like watch the racing while she's got it in her hands walking, it was not the vibe. So I gave up. So I was just making her give me comms all the time of what was happening. So all I know about what actually happened in racing form is mainly due to Celeste's comms.
I was getting a train.
We also watched. We were getting a train as well when we first started watching it, and the other people around us were also watching it out loud, really, really loudly. And it's a good job I don't understand Italian because they were ahead.
Yeah, they were.
Ooh.
Well, for me, the most exciting part about this weekend, maybe the only exciting part, if I'm very honest, was the sprint qualifying.
Sprint quali, yeah.
SQ3, I hope that's right. SQ3 was a wet qualifying session, and oh my god, did I enjoy that qualifying session. Absolutely loved it, because it was so competitive. You didn't know who was going to win, because with the wet racing, the engines don't matter that much, so no one really has a big advantage, and it was great. It was great. Fernando Alonso did great. Lewis Hamilton did great. Lando Norris did great. Max Verstappen loved the gravel trap, which I think is great. So, yeah, incredible qualifying session.
The most upsetting bit about the sprint race itself was the fact that Max Verstappen still won the sprint race.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I think that's the only
Hamilton
exciting
finished
thing.
P2.
Yeah, but it was still a shit race. Like,
We had, this weekend in F1, we've had 2 Red Bull sandwiches. Because Max Verstappen finished P1 in both the sprint and the normal race. Sergio Perez finished P3 in both the sprint and the normal race.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be a British man beginning with L who has driven for McLaren that happened to be in the middle of it. Lewis Hamilton in the sprint and Lando Norris in the race. It's like the stars were written for that exact moment to occur.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the sprint qualifying, but that was about it, because the rest of the weekend again was quite boring.
When was the sprint qualifying on? I didn't watch it. I know that much. But I can't
On
remember why I
Friday,
didn't watch it. Oh, because
It was very early in the morning.
I don't have a... What, early in the morning on which day?
Friday.
Oh yeah, I don't have a VPN. The Sky Sports you can't use outside of the UK.
Friday 9:30.
Yes, that's why I didn't watch it. Didn't have a VPN. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz both finished P4. Well, Charles finished P4 in the sprint and the sprint and the race. Carlos Sainz
Charles
finished
had an incredible
P5 in the sprint and the race as well, which means that Charles Leclerc is still the fastest Ferrari, even though people in the internet like to say that Charles Leclerc is doing a bad job.
I mean, I think this race, like the main race, very well showed what Charles still can do. I know he's had his moments and crashes and whatever, but he had a really good race this Sunday. Also, the team had a good strategy for once, so that helped.
Yeah, I think you sent your strategist to China.
Yeah, they may have swapped. I don't know what happened.
I think they had a little swapperoo.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
So I just realised that Lance Stroll still technically finished the race on Sunday.
Yeah, he did.
Daniel
I mean, I
Ricciardo
guess he...
didn't.
I know, that's the whole drama.
That is the drama.
It is the drama.
Um,
Yeah, for everyone who didn't see it, we had a safety car restart. And if you know the track in China, the last 2 corners are very sort of close after each other. So Max backing the pack up, and somehow Lance Stroll didn't notice, didn't see, didn't...
on the
I don't
onboard,
know.
he
Watch
wasn't
the drivers in front of him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
it
onboard, his
was-
head was turned looking at the corner and not what was in front
He
of him.
didn't, see the cars braking in front of him, and everyone braked, and there's obviously now a debate that Daniel Ricciardo may have braked too hard, or the cars in front of him may have braked too hard, but at the end of the day, Lance
Either way.
Stroll is the only driver in that whole bunched up pack who managed to get his car under the car in front of him. So
I think, like, the fact that it is, like, very visible on the onboard that he is not looking at the cars in front of him.
mhm.
And, like, I get, like, when you're driving, you need to look at the apex to make sure you're turning in right. But when the pack is bunched up that much,
In the second
you need
to
to be
last
looking
corner.
at what's in front of you. You need to
Yeah.
look at what's in front of you. And obviously, I imagine you guys have seen Danny Rick in the pen afterwards, like, calming
so
down, but
confused.
now.
Not all F1 fans nowadays, but a lot of F1 fans nowadays would never, if they watched like the racing in like 70s, the 80s,
Oh
like
god.
like if that was nowadays,
Yeah.
yeah, people would not survive it.
Imagine them watching James
Completely.
Hunt smoking and shit.
Completely.
Yeah, there was.
Or like even that video of Michael going to like wanting to beat up obviously Coulthard from
Yeah.
Spa, like even then like people would just be like, oh my god, like compare that
People now,
to Russell going up to Bottas at Imola, like
my thing, I do think if like Michael Schumacher's like those days were nowadays, I genuinely think that a lot less people would like Michael Schumacher.
completely. Absolutely. I mean he wasn't
He wasn't.
He was a dickhead.
he wasn't liked.
Yeah,
No.
he definitely wasn't like. People
Like,
only like him now that
There's
he's
people
left
that
the sport.
obviously- Yeah, there's a lot of people now that like obviously like what you did was amazing with the championships and that lot.
And that's,
But
yeah.
there's a lot less people that idolise him if they actually watch.
That's even the case with like Seb.
Oh
Obviously, a
yeah,
lot of people hated him in the
He
moment.
was so
and
yeah.
hated,
I
yeah.
did not like Sebastian.
You've got to
Vettel
be a little bit of a
back in the day.
bitch.
But also, I didn't like Sebastian Vettel back in the day because he was causing me problems.
Well, that's what I had with Lewis as well. I didn't like. Well, I don't want to say I hated Lewis, but I very much disliked him.
Very
Until
much
you wore
dislike
that
Sebastian
Mercedes
Vettel.
hat at Le Mans.
But yeah, I think what Katie says is very on point with that. I mean, if you look back at how, but that's the thing that sometimes annoys me about new fans, and I don't want to discredit new fans because I love new people getting into sport, but I wish that some people would take more time to learn the history of the
Look
sport,
at the
see
old
where we're
stuff.
coming from, see what it's originally meant to be. Because I feel
Completely.
like, especially since COVID and a lot of changes within the FOM and the FIA and the whole organization behind F1, a lot has changed in a lot of senses and directions, social media,
And-
the way the
yeah.
sport is portrayed. So sometimes I do wish newer fans would take a little bit more time to get that.
Even then, like, I'm a new fan. Like, I haven't been watching for that
Yeah,
long.
I always forget
Like-
you're a new fan.
Yeah. Like, I completely made sure the minute I got interested that I looked at all the history, everything. I know you guys know how many old races that I watched. I bought F1 TV. I literally I've rewatched every single race, like, to 2014, watching backwards from the point. And I've watched even older ones from that, just when they're on TV. You know, Sky F1 sometimes put classic races on, and I just make sure that I am fully educated on basically everything that's happened. And I mean, not saying I wish people had as much of an obsession as I clearly do, but you know, I think it's good. It is good to educate yourself.
It's just the same old, same old. I know it's like
Max Verstappen won.
yeah, Max Verstappen
Max
won.
Verstappen has 4 wins out of 5 races. Sergio Perez has 3 wins out of 5 races. Charles Leclerc has 3 P4s out of 5 races. Carlos Sainz is a bit of a mixed bag. Oscar Piastri has 3 P8s out of 5 races.
Oh my god,
George
slay.
Russell is a mixed bag. Fernando Alonso is pretty mixed. Lewis Hamilton has 3 P9s out of 5 races. Like, for the most part, these races are almost finishing practically identical each time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much going on.
Which is a problem.
Well, if you want entertainment, watch Formula E, WEC, or MotoGP.
Literally.
Yeah, especially if you're a Ferrari fan, you should watch WEC.
You just should, because normally we do pretty good.
Well, that's the FIA Formula 1, the ABB FIA Formula E, and the FIA World Endurance Championship rounded out. Saying goodbye to 2 races in Italy and a race in China until next time. We've got the Monaco E-Prix this weekend, and then we've got Miami for F1 and F1 Academy. Is F2 there?
And
they're back in Miami.
And MotoGP is at Jerez for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Ooh. Can't think what else is on. Is there anything else on?
NASCAR, baby.
No,
Ugh.
not a chance in hell. So, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, sticking around, listening to us ramble about all things across the 3 championships. The MISANO, EP, and the IMOLA vlogs will be coming out very, very soon, so keep an eye out on the channel for those. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. They're all at parcfem_. Check out the website, parcfem.co.uk, and we will see you guys next time. Ciao bella.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao
Ciao, Bella.